This house is insane.
Racquetball court, wine cellar, home theater, insane property tours we've ever done. Ready, set, go.
What's going on, everybody? So in today's video, I'm going to be going over how much Ryan Serhant makes every single year, including all his sources of income. And he has about 5 sources of income that he's made. I don't want to say publicly available, but from doing different research and reading different articles, you can kind of get a sense of what he makes. Now, this is still an estimate, and I'm going to be conservative. But that being said, let's jump into the video. So the very first stream of income for him is obviously his brokerage. And what's interesting about his brokerage is that he started a real estate brokerage based around YouTube. So if you're a real estate broker and you're wondering whether or not you should start a YouTube channel, well, the top agent in the United States, or basically one of the top agents in the US, just created an entire brokerage around YouTube. So it's probably a good idea. And that being said, here was his yearly sales in the previous year, 2019. So this was at 1.4 billion.
$1,276,401,499. That's the number that I manage in listings every single day.
And let's say he makes 2.5% commission. He does a lot of new development, so sometimes those are going to be a little bit less, and sometimes a traditional agent is going to make 3%. So I just use the number 2.5% as kind of a broad estimate. So if you take 1.4 billion, multiply it times 2.5%, you get 35 million in gross income. Now, obviously, I don't think he's out there like showing houses all the time or, listing his own properties. He has a pretty large team and staff that handles a lot of this for him. So most agents, if you're on a team, you typically split the deals like 50-50 with your broker. So assuming that he splits 35 million 50-50 with his agents, that brings us to 17 million. And then I subtracted 2 million for the cost of team members. And maybe some of that 1.4 billion was, different other agents' deals that he just kind of puts his name on. So I did a conservative number of 15 million in net income just from his brokerage business.
This is how I used to get around town showing apartments when I first got into the business.
Now, 15 million is an absurd amount of money for any type of business. And just to be extra conservative, once we add up all these figures here, I actually subtract a bit more just to be on the safe side to get a realistic estimate of what he makes per year. So he could have additional costs, and like I said, some of that 1.4 billion could be other agents. Next up, we have his real estate course. And actually, he has a couple courses now. He has a social media course, but we're just going to use this one, the Sell It Like Serhant course, basically a real estate course teaching real estate agents
To show you how to become a real estate agent.
how to make money and make $15 million per year, just like Ryan Serhant. And I estimated this at about $10,000 per day that he's generating, which gives us about 3.6 in gross income. Now, the way I got $10,000 was when he first launched the course. I know the first several days he was clearing 6 figures every single day. However, when you launch a course or some type of digital product, when you do your launch phase, it's always going to be a bit higher. So if he was making about $100,000 per day, during the launch phase, I took that, divided it by 10 and said, okay, let's just be conservative and say he's making $10,000 per day, which gives us a gross income of 3.6. And then I took away expenses, production. He has a whole staff and team of highly paid professionals that help him create a lot of this content. And then obviously he does a lot of paid ads. I'm sure he spends easily 6 figures per month in just paid advertisements and things like that. So I divided that 3.6 by about 50% to get about 1.8 that he's netting every single year from his course. And then he has his new course as well, and I'm sure over the next few years he's going to add to that library of courses even more. Next up, we have Ryan Serhant's books. So he has 2 books. I'm sure he's probably working on additional books, but the most well-known one is Sell It Like Serhant, and then Big Money Energy. Now, the thing with books that a lot of people don't realize, even best-selling books don't really make that much money. It's a great lead generator, so it's great to get people into his course and to build his brand, but I can almost guarantee you he's not making that much. A lot of times, authors are really only making like 7 to 10% of the actual sale of the book. So for this, he probably got a 6-figure advance just because he has such a huge social media following. But in terms of royalties, and then he's got a ton of expenses with like editing the book, promoting the book, different things. I've said about 100,000, which is probably a pretty conservative number. But let's say between 2 books, he's making about $100,000 per year. After that, we have YouTube ad revenue, and I'm sure his YouTube ad revenue is growing exponentially, and this number could be a little bit low. But what I did for his YouTube ad revenue is I took some smaller YouTubers and looked at their channels and saw how much they were making. Like, for example, Ryan Pineda. He has a real estate channel, much smaller than Ryan Serhant's, but it's also growing pretty quickly. And he's making about $15,000 per month at the time of this recording. Then I looked at some larger YouTubers like Graham Stephen, who's making about $100,000 per month with his YouTube ad revenue. So I kind of came up with a number of $50,000 per month, kind of right in the middle between those two figures. And
smashing the like button for the YouTube algorithm.
$50,000 per month would be really $600K. However, I took that number, divided it by half for the expenses, you know, for his YouTube team, his filmmaking setup, everything like that, his advertisements. You know, this guy spends quite a bit of money every single month just on his staff and marketing. Next up, we have his speaking fee. And I actually heard him talk at a local event. I'll show a picture of it. And he's a really nice guy, really down-to-earth type of guy. And from doing a little bit of research, I can estimate that his speaking fee and just getting paid to show up somewhere is going to be between $50,000, which is probably on the low end, to $100,000. I believe Grant Cardone is about $100,000 to book. If you wanted Grant Cardone to speak somewhere, you'd have to pay him about $100,000.
The cash flow.
I think Ryan Serhant's probably a little bit below that. So we're going to go with $75,000 just to book him. And then let's say he does 10 engagements per year. That's $750,000. And there's going to be some travel expenses and things like that, which we'll take into account in a second here. Lastly, his additional income. I'm sure he either has stocks or real estate or some type of holdings. So just being conservative, saying he has $1 million and is getting a 5% interest, that would be $50,000. He also has a partnership with a licensing company for real estate agents looking to become licensed. So my understanding is that he gets some type of affiliate commission from that. And I'm sure he makes at least $50,000. And honestly, that's pretty low. It's probably higher than that. And then I put additional investments and etc. So there's probably, maybe he owns some Bitcoin. Maybe he's got some his own real estate projects he's doing. Maybe he has other sources of income that I'm not taking into account. So I added about $100,000 for that. So that gives us a total yearly revenue of $18 million that Ryan Serhant makes. Now, I did take into account as many expenses as I could when we were going through these figures. However, just to be on the safe side, what I did is I multiplied 18 million by 0.75% because maybe I was off by 20%. Maybe I wasn't. But just to be extra conservative, that brings a net total income for Ryan Serhant of $13 million per year.
Welcome to my penthouse.
And let me know in the comments if you think that's realistic or your thoughts and opinions. And one thing you can learn from this is that multiple streams of income is the way to go. And that's especially true once you build a following. So Ryan Serhant's great at social media. He's built a huge following. He could probably sell like water bottles or something random and make millions of dollars doing that just because he's built such a huge following. So you should always be trying to increase your streams of income as well as building your brand. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.